Yo! Hegassen here, and here we go. It's my review of One Piece manga chapter 963, Becoming Samurai. Who are the people that are becoming samurai? Well, if you remember at the beginning of last chapter, we saw Nekomamushi, we saw Inuarashi washed up on a beach with Kawamatsu poking them with a stick. This chapter, we find out how all of them became members of the 9 Red Scabbards, and how all of them got to Wano, because yes, Kawamatsu, he is not from Wano. A lot of this chapter is about people just arriving in Wano, washing up on the beaches, and at the end we have an excellent bunch of characters turn up in Wano. The main focus of this story is pretty much just following the early lives of Nekomamushi and Inuarashi. It's kind of more of their flashback as opposed to the Kozuki Oden flashback, but we'll get to them a little bit later because I just have to talk about that ending. The person that washed up on the beach at the end, the ship that washed up, the ship was the Moby Dick. Whose ship was that? It is Edward Newgate's. It is Whitebeard's ship with Whitebeard's crew. They turn up in Wano. Yes, we are finally getting into that moment where Oden meets Whitebeard, and I'm assuming from here sets off out to sea to start his adventure. Presumably as well with Izo, because as we found out again, Izo is also a member of the retainers of Kozuki Oden's little crew, and we know that he was also a member of the Whitebeard crew. The Whitebeard crew here that we see is a little bit different from how we actually know it. If you also remember again, a lot of stuff from last chapter. If you remember from last chapter, it told us that the Rocks Pirates had just started breaking up and started finding their own way. This kind of is set a few years later, so it's very, very much the early years of the Whitebeard Pirates. So early that the crews are a little bit different. So early that Marco is an apprentice. Yes, he is the buggy, he is the Shanks of this crew. He is very much an apprentice. He isn't the high-ranking guy that he is now. He is just the little guy. There's quite a few familiar faces there though. We have Jozu, we see him in the background. And we have Ray Kuyo. Now, he's quite interesting, not mainly because of him, but because of his weapon. He has this flower, this great big spike ball on a chain. And if you remember, that thing seemed to have a life of its own. It's just on the floor in this one. And the question about that is, does it have a devil fruit? Hopefully this will expand on that and actually expand on a few more. This like little flashback expand on a few more of the characters from the Whitebeard Pirates. Like I said, the crew is a little bit different. So much so that it doesn't seem like Whitebeard has his entire armada that he used to have. And a lot of those other captains that were all members of individual crews that were related to the Whitebeard Pirates, they are actually members of the Whitebeard Pirates itself. So we are talking early years, the original crew of Whitebeard's Pirates. And some of them are very interesting characters indeed. One of them is Whitey Bay. Great to see Whitey Bay again. And again, hopefully we'll find out a lot more about her. We didn't see too much of her in the past. And the character that I am most excited for is Epoida. Who's Epoida? He is this guy and he's got like this weird kind of tubular body. Looks like it's made out of like little consecutive rings. We see that here he kind of has that similar appearance. But what is interesting about him is that he is confirmed to be a zone user. A zone user with an unknown ability that seems to turn him into a caterpillar. I think maybe it was only in the manga. I can't remember if it was in the anime, but we see him and he's got like this kind of elongated body. We don't see it in full. We don't know anything else about it. So if we're going to find out any of the powers from any of these other characters, he's the one that I'm most interested in, because it's always great to get more confirmations of different zone users, especially if it's a caterpillar, especially if it's an insect user, because so far the only insect users we've seen are the Tontattas, which, you know, are tiny and then turning into tiny insects. It kind of makes sense, but I'd like to see a big, normal size human, or normal for this world I should say, eating a bug type devil fruit and then seeing what on earth happens. Quite interesting there. So I would like to know a lot more about these characters. And of course we see Edward Newgate there as well. Great to see him again, getting those feels from Marineford, seeing Whitebeard in his youth, in his prime. And he's a little bit shaky. He's a little bit shaky because he senses someone, presumably using a little bit of haki, and that person running up to him is Kozuki Oden. And Whitebeard gets in his battle stance and he's like, we've got trouble coming. And they clash. They clash while Oden says, let me join their crew. And when they clash, it's pretty obvious that there is some Conqueror's haki going on. We see the Black Lightning. And most importantly of all, they are kind of on equal footing. They are clashing, and it doesn't look like anyone has the advantage. In fact, Whitebeard, he looks a little bit flabbergasted. Oden looks really, really excited. Hopefully we're going to see a little bit more of this fight next week. This is some great stuff. This proves just how strong Oden actually is. We are talking up there in the high ranks of One Piece power scaling. You know, Yonko level, Garp level, Roger level, that kind of level potentially for Oden. I mean, this is obviously Whitebeard. Back in the past, I think it has been stated that the Whitebeard that we know later on in the series was a slightly stronger version of the Whitebeard that we got in the past, but still, they're going at equal footing. Oda's only going to improve. Oden's only going to improve as well, so this is some good stuff. So let's go back to Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, and they had washed up on that beach. And they had washed up on that beach because they went out on an adventure after being back in Zou as little kids, hearing the stories about the Kozuki family, about the land of Wano, about this family that they have out there, this family of samurai that are heavily linked to the mink tribe. And they were inspired by that, and they went out in their little ship, and they went to go and find that island. They washed ashore on that island, and it wasn't the place that they had been told, because the people of Wano, they don't seem to know these stories like how the people in Zou know it, how the minks know it, because the second they saw Nekomamushi and Inuarashi, they didn't know what they were. They thought they were beasts, along with Kawamatsu, who just unfortunately happened to be there at the time. He got captured with them as well, and is also being treated as a misfit, as an outcast. And the reasons for this are kind of unclear, but we know that Oden knows about them, and know that Oden's father knows about them, so it seems like it's probably kind of like a secret that maybe only the higher-ups know, the shoguns know. You know, Wano is quite a isolated, closed-off country, so I doubt they want to tell everybody in the country that, oh yeah, there's all these magical places out there of giant elephants and animal people and fishmen, because fishmen, Kawamatsu, yes, Kawamatsu is confirmed to be a fishman. He is not native to Wano as well. He says that he also got washed ashore earlier on with his mother, and nobody knew what a fishman was. His mother unfortunately got killed, and then he's just been living on the scraps. So we have two minks and a fishman all washed up into this land that knows nothing about them. Thankfully, one of the people that do know about the minks and stuff comes along, Kozuki Oden, but that doesn't really matter anyway, because he just sees them as a bunch of kids. He sees them as a bunch of innocent kids, beats up all of the people that are keeping them captive, eventually lets them all down, gives them some food, and they eventually join Oden, refusing to leave his side, and the 10 Red Scabbards are born. Yes, 10, because we still have Izo there. They haven't called them the 9 Red Scabbards yet, or 10 Red Scabbards. They just called them the retainers of Oden, but Izo's there, so there is 10 of them at the moment, not 9, and they're all officially joining. We see that flashback again with Yasui, where they've all stolen all of the stuff, also confirming that that was Izo, not Okiko Okikonojo, in that flashback when we originally saw him, that when they all stole the money, and Yasui is telling them, you know, if you want to be Oden's retainers, you got to be proper, you got to be strong, you got to be polite. And we see them training here over the years, and at the end they are all looking pretty fine, pretty dapper, got new wares, they are strong, they are polite. Oden's a little bit taken back by, like, why are you being so polite? You guys are all ruffians. But they have stepped up to protect Oden, and eventually to protect Wano, because them and Yasui all believe that Oden is going to be the next shogun of all of Wano, the next leader of Wano. One of the reasons for this as well is because we find out that Oden's dad is actually quite ill, and we see a little character there in the corner, which puts a few suspicions on him, because that little character in the corner, when they're talking about the fact that Oden's dad is dying, is Orochi. Does he have some part to play in this? Orochi has now also been abandoned by Yasui, probably because of the fact that Yasui kind of thought and knew that Orochi had previously stole that money. We also find out that Oden had been giving Orochi some money as well, because Orochi was kind of abandoned and on his own. So Orochi, you know, building up his power, you know, he looks like he's maybe got a job there under Oden's dad, and he's building up some money, taking money from Oden and stuff. So he's building his way up, and but we're not really getting too much information about that just yet. Just little hints, little seeds planting about what on earth Orochi is up to. Finally, going back to Oden's retainers, there is 2 other characters that are kind of affiliated with them, and them 2 are the giant mountain boars that we saw at the beginning of the Oden flashback. Yes, both of them. The little kid one and the big one. Which somehow survived. Even though it got cut in two, straight down the middle. Its guts cut open, its stomach cut open. People were walking out of its stomach. It's just been stitched back up and it looks completely fine. They must have some elixir of life there in Wano. I have no idea how it survived. I'm a little bit disappointed that it did survive. I thought it might have been better if the baby pig was, the baby mountain god was like an orphan or something, and that came back into the story later on. But it's still alive. Why is it still alive? Wish it wasn't still alive. This is just Oda again, keeping characters alive and not really killing them. I mean, we've had some deaths recently. Why this pig? I'm assuming it's going to come back, some important role later on in the story. If that is the case, don't cut it in half like that completely. Make it a little bit more believable that Odin could hurt it with it still being alive. But, okay, fair enough. I'm shocked to see it. This is probably the only thing in this chapter that I was really like, I don't like that. The rest was hype. Some really good stuff. Also seeing, Kinemon and all that grow. Kanjuro grow from this guy chopping off people's hair to becoming an actual retainer, a proper samurai. Great stuff. And Apprentice Marco as well, and the potential to find out a lot more about the Whitebeard Pirates. Very, very hype. Them pigs, the biggest letdown of it all. Because of that, I'm not going to give it full marks. I'm only going to give it a gold tier. But still, fantastic chapter. Fantastic chapter. The cover page story as well. Introduced these germ pirates. Don't know where that's going. Looks like Capone is going to save Dressrosa. We also see this woman in the germ pirates, who's pretty cute. Thought she was naked when I first saw her, but she's cute, so that's also another little plus from this chapter as well. Good stuff. Excited now to see Kozuki Oden versus Edward Newgate next week. Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like. And if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy, and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!